Well, hello again, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger here. It's Monday. It's like 3:30. Just heard the mailman come. My FedEx package arrived, and he put it in the back. He didn't put it in the front. So, I mean, in case you didn't watch the other video and you're watching this, I was expecting a package. We were paying attention. It showed up a day late, which I made a video about that in my experience, FedEx is always one day late. So, the package shows up, and I go outside, and it's not there. And I freaked out. Like, I went into fight or flight. I came back in. I said, somebody stole it. Somebody stole it. It has to be, because I had seen a picture of the the package sitting on our patio. So I came back in and inspected the picture, and I'm like, wait a minute. In our front patio, the neighbor upstairs has some children's toys, like a little car, and there was a bicycle rim. It wasn't kids' toys. It was a mountain bike rim. So I said, I'm going to run around the neighborhood and look at these other buildings, and I can hopefully find it before somebody picks it up. And then I heard a little bit of noise in the back while I was putting my shoes on, and my wife shouted, "It's here." They delivered it in the back. So I have to buy a new gasket for it, but it's awesome. This thing that I got for my new hobby that I really don't want to talk about is so yeah, JHS lied to you. If you haven't seen any videos about this, for about a year, he was filming pedal demos, and he would have a pedal sitting on top of an amplifier with the light was lit, and there was an input cable plugged in. So you'd assume he's playing through this amp. It's a custom tube amp that's made for him. It's called the JHS amp, or it says loud is more gooder or something. They do this thing on that show where they never curse, and they talk like they're little kids. They talk like they're real innocent, like baby kids. And they think that they're really, really hilarious. JHS thinks he's so clever and so funny. And I'm sorry, he's from Salt Lake City. I worked for a company that was out of Salt Lake City, and those guys that ran it were Mormons. And what I learned about those people is some of them, at least every single one of them that I met, they were the most racist people I ever met. They were unbelievable racist, and they hated whites. They hated anyone who was not a Mormon. And they were evil schemers. They were really the worst. Like, run. Never get involved with, unless you got the upper hand on them, maybe. But real quickly you'll find out they're conniving people, and unless you're a really good schemer, you're gonna end up getting. You'll find out what I mean. And that was just my experience. There's good and bad in all sorts of people, but when I look at somebody like JHS and I hear that, he works with the church community, and then Debbie Ever, who's a transsexual, transvestite person, that typically the church would look on that person and say, that person's going to hell, they're evil, blah, blah, blah. Debbie Ever claimed that JHS stole one of her designs. And when you make that claim, it's true. It's because people can prove it. It's not that difficult to trace a there's only 9 parts in the circuit, so it's pretty easy to look at it and figure out that puzzle pretty quickly that, yeah, he did steal it. So the thing about that theft was, because see, this happens all the time, was also that there was a shop owner And this JHS guy went into that shop and trash talked Debbie Ever. Said some really stuff you just don't say. So it was not only did he steal her circuit, so for a lot of guys out there that are on the JHS show comment section and think they're really funny, maybe you learned what a tube screamer, or maybe you learned what a fuzz face was from Josh. I didn't. I started this hobby in the early 80s. I pre-ordered Craig Anderton's book. I was ordering kits from the Paya catalog, not just the Gemini amp, which I did build, but I did the ring modulator, which is a rack mount bipolar power supply. It's a complicated build. It's very complicated build. So that was my introduction to the DIY back in the 80s. And when we're in 2023 now, the game has changed so much. Even going back to 2014, when I got the job to make pedal demos, nobody would touch me. Nobody would touch me now. Nobody would ever send me a product to review, not even a $20 Chinese pedal. And that's because these types of cherished positions are reserved for people like 60 Cycle Hum. And this video is about JHS. I don't want to go on and just slag about everybody who's got a YouTube guitar channel, but I got to be honest with you, 60 Cycle Hum infuriates me. He reviews, they send him a lot of digital gear and he goes right to the spring reverb patch and said it doesn't drip. And then next, because his claim is that he's a surf rocker and that he's a stoner doom guy, although I've never heard any music on his channel, which is another syndrome of this thing. Why I don't like these guys, and JHS is an exception. While the guy's character to me is questionable, JHS is a shrewd businessman. That's all he is. He's a brilliant marketer. He has a love deep in his heart. He's a pedal fanatic. He has a love for this hobby. He's very opinionated and very knowledgeable, although I've heard him say some stuff that I disagree with, simply because he's saying what he's expounding from the position of a guy who owns a successful boutique pedal business. So therefore, talking about these circuits, talking about these components, talking about these devices, you're going to get a different slant talking from a guy who's up there trying to sell them to you. And this is where there's a problem. This is where there's a conflict of interest, because JHS he kind of wears many hats, and he's coming to us saying, I'm going to do a play where I have people dress up in pedal enclosure costumes, and we're going to tell the history of pedals. Well, the only problem with that is you're selling this stuff. So no matter what, you can't help but slant everything that you say from the perspective of someone who you're scheming and you're trying to get over on us. You're trying to the customer. And you can Jiminy Christmas, and you can in record time, he's got the box. You can do all that cutesy stuff all you want, but at the end of the day, if you're a shekel rubber, if you're just scheming so hard about how to get over on young guitar players, that's not right. Okay? And what the point that I wanted to make in this video is, why is it such a big deal that JHS lied to you? Because he did. He, for a year, he had this tube amp up in the frame. What they do, they talk about these circuits, and then all of a sudden there'll be music. They're performing live. There's a drummer who's one of his employees. There's a bass player who's one of his employees, and there's a real smarmy guy who's the gatekeeper. And he's real kind of homosexual acting, and if there's any girls in there, it's all about the girls. And he gatekeeps the comment section and the contests. And that guy, well, I don't want to be like slandering people's character and saying how much I can't stand everyone, but he's been unbelievably rude to certain people in the comment section. And he gatekeeps. It's you know, this girl told me I look cute today, so she's getting the thing. That's one of the things that I saw while I was there. And they do everything. All the contests are done like as a race, so it's all about ping. It's all about, if you have a faster internet connection, you can win these contests. But if you're the further away you are from their location, the less your chance to win. So there's a lot for me to not like about the JHS show, and I think the important thing is, again, they have these music demonstrations. That's a huge part of what they do, and I love that. I love that about JHS. That's really the only thing besides learning, because I've learned a lot watching him. He's unbelievable with the knowledge that he's collected and his collection. I think he's got the biggest pedal collection. People get mad because if he does, like he did a video recently on the Bad Monkey, a Digitech distortion that is a 4-knob pedal. It has an extra jack, which is a little cab sim on that output. And it's an excellent pedal. It really is. I bought the Bad Monkey when it was first came out, on sale for $29. And you know what? I think I paid 40. I think it was 39 what I paid. But it's in a phenomenal dirt box. The Digitech Bad Monkey. It's the DS1, the distortion. Forget about it. Bad Monkey. That is all you need. It's all you need. Now, I don't want to say that, but for a dirt box, you could get away with just having that. Now, he recently did this episode on that pedal, and then whereas they were $50 to $100, you could get them for. They don't make them anymore. And I guarantee you they're going to reissue them. I guarantee you they are. That's why he did this. He's buddies with Tom Cram, who's back with Digitech. Digitech is back. They're going to be reissuing the Bad Monkey because it's a great pedal, and it was only on the market for a short period of time, and it's their intellectual property, so it's perfect choice for them to reissue, and believe me, they are. This is the first thing that they're going to do it. So this pedal comes out of the 90s. It's $30 to $50 pedal. A lot of people slammed it and didn't like it because it's green with yellow letters, and it's a stupid name, Bad Monkey. It's a terrible name. And JHS does the video, and now their people are trying to sell them for $600. Now the truth is they're selling for $200, and people are mad at JHS. You know how the comment section is. Drinking my homemade strawberry lemonade, boy, I gotta tell you, it's refreshing. Comment section, this what do you call that, the gear page, in this place where internet guitar players hang around and they all stroke each other's egos and talk about their expensive tube amps and their gold top Les Pauls, and none of them ever have a single link of any music to share, ever. Which is another reason I can't be around those places, is because I do. If you want to walk the walk of talk the talk, Petey Two Finger, hokum. You go back, it's about 6 or 10 links back here. That's the album I recorded in January. It's all acoustic. I wrote all that music, except for there's a couple covers on there. Well, one collaboration and one Pink Floyd cover. I did this song Is there anybody out there? It's the instrumental that's on the wall. One of the instrumentals that's on the wall album. Or is it the only? So when they do these live music interludes to illustrate these pedals, on the video you always saw this white tube amp, and it's louder is more gooder or something he said once. If he'll say something, his buddies will he said something funny, and then they'll meme it to death, and then they'll start selling t-shirts of it. This is what they do over there. And I none of that stuff is funny to me. It's like, I hate to say it, it's cringy is what it is. JHS, everything about it makes me, it just makes me want to punch a wall when I watch it, because I worked for a Salt Lake City Mormon company who were abusive. They were horrifically bad to me, and they worked me so unbelievably hard, physical labor. Now I have herniated discs, and I have unbelievable amount of chronic pain for the rest of my life that will never go away. So I kind of have a good reason to not like those people. And the whole time JHS had his tube amp, which is a $4,000 custom made, it's got a single 12, white. It's white. Isn't that perfect? Like, oh, he's never had a Coca-Cola because it's got caffeine. Anyway, it wasn't that tube amp. It was a Kemper, which is a digital modeling device. And he came out and said this, came out and admitted it. And now everybody's up in arms. Well, I don't want to say everybody, but people are upset about it. JHS lied to you. And this is going back to my point that the guy's a schemer and you can't trust him. You can't trust anything that guy says. And of course, he's going to use a Kemper. Of course he's going to use a Kemper. You know why? It sounds way better than miking the amp. That's why. Otherwise he would have put a mic on it. You think that guy doesn't have a microphone? Why would he use a Kemper? They've got mixing boards, they've got microphones. It's a video audio production studio where they film these things. Why would he choose to use a Kemper? Because it sounds better. It's easier. They don't have to mic the amp. And I don't know how people could be so stupid to even think like, oh, what? Like, you were watching it, there was no mic in front of the amp. I mean, it's kind of obvious if you think about it. So, number one, the whole digital and analog debate needs to be put to bed. Okay? They both have their pros and cons. They're different. And if you choose to use one over the other, it doesn't make you better, it doesn't make you cooler, it doesn't make you smarter. It's just a tool that's in the toolbox. And I think we, as the community of internet guitar players, is way too hung up about that thing. And lashing out at someone in the comments section and teasing them, mocking them because they're not, and it's not like it used to be. The past 4 or 5 years, there's been this thing of digital adoption where people have lowered their expectations, and it's also because the guys that are buying the stuff now never played through a Vox AC30. They only know what an AC30 sounds like from playing the models of it. And that's what I mean by lowering expectations. Now, again, one of the comments that I have seen is, oh, the digital modeling has gotten so much better in the last couple of years. Has it? The Kemper and the Helix is the same technology. It's 10 years old. And it hasn't. It hasn't. The community has finally caught up with it. these people are finally buying this stuff and using it and realizing there's a whole world out there that you can purchase for a fraction of the price of buying just one tube amp. You can get everything you need. And then, hook it up to the computer or use your mouse, forge the sounds, program it, and you can have a foot switch and you can have hundreds of sounds throughout the night rather than just one. So it's, of course JHS lied to you. Of course he lied to you. Of course. Why wouldn't he? Why would he use that amp when he could use a Kemper? Why would he do that? It's infinitely easier. It's going to give you much more stable and similar results. So what? And the real thing is, why is it such a big deal? Why do people feel so cheated? Were they watching this like pornography? Were they secretly getting aroused? And did it put JHS on a different level? Like, he's got a tube amp. I've never seen one. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the problem. It's the emperor's new clothes. Everybody on the internet that's typing that stuff, that's putting other people down, these are guys that have Fender champs. And not a tube champ. I'm talking about the 10 watt TDA 2020A, the chip. 15 watt automotive chip. Just the crappiest $20 garbage piece of crap amp. And they're the ones on there doing this and about the tube amps. And, a tube amp will always sound better. All of that stuff. It's guys that don't even own them. So, of course, it shouldn't matter to us, the consumer, what his amp is. The show's about pedals, okay? But it came out, and now it's a big deal on the internet, and everyone's fawning, oh, he lied to us, and oh, how could he do that? Because you thought it was a tube amp, so that made it better? You know what I mean? Like, I had a guy come over here one time. I hadn't seen the guy in like 20 years. And I got this guy started with computing. I got him a used PC and gave him a bunch of software, hooked up his MIDI interface, went over there and held his hand, because he had a recording studio, but it was all analog, and I got him going with the MIDI, with the digital. And now that's all he does. And he was like, he's thanked me on some of his albums. But that guy came over here and he wanted me to give him a bunch of software, and he had bought some memory card, and I put it in my computer and it needed to be formatted. And he freaked out. What are you doing? So the memory card didn't work. Well, that never happened at home on my Mac. Well, because you're buying memory cards that are specifically for a Mac, you fucking moron. And you brought it to my house. Now I need to format it. I was like, calm down, dude. Calm down. I know what the fuck I'm doing. And when I don't, I Google it and I learn. I'm not gonna, let me see if I can try, hook it up to 12 volts. So anyway, the next time the guy came over, I was going through and I was showing, and mind you, this guy, he has a YouTube channel, and the videos on it, there's a camera that he has mounted, it's a webcam, or maybe it's a camcorder mounted up high in his studio, and he's got rack mount gear. And he stands there and does live looping with Ableton with a guitar synth pickup. And it's ambient, it's real boring. There's like 3 voices in each piece of music repeating and looping. And he uploads these videos. They're not processed at all. It's just the raw video footage of him standing there doing this live looping. They're like 25 minutes long, and it'll be like Constellation Amoeba or something. This song with some name, and then the song will start and it's whoop, 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 and it'll have some loops going, and then he's like with his synth and a bunch of reverb on it, and it's like 25 minutes of this. Okay. Now, the guy was over here, it was the next time he was over here, and I was showing him some shit that I did. He goes, "You should get a Mac." And I was like, what? I literally almost kicked the guy out of my fucking house. I was so offended that he said that to me. Because as far as like producing stuff, making cool content with the computer, this guy hasn't even scratched the fucking surface compared to what I've done. If you look at my YouTube channel, look at the videos that I've produced and the music videos that I've produced, the stuff that I've done with my PC. And now all of a sudden, because he shows up in my life again, I need to get a Mac so I can be on his level because he's better than me. I'm down here with my PC kicking his fucking ass, which I don't know how he couldn't see that. Does he think that his live looping videos are better than the stuff I've produced? Obviously he does. But this type of thinking, okay, that this guy, this is atypical of musicians. And it's based on your gear, like that Mac. Mac is better than PC. Analog is better than digital. And in this case, it was like a beautiful example of mental illness. This guy's fucking nuts for saying that. How the fuck could you stand there and say, I need to get a Mac? When I worked professionally for Devi Ever, Vic Audio for over a year, making dozens of pedal demonstration videos that are crammed full of unbelievable editing, video effects, sound effects, and then music that I've created myself. How could you dare tell me I need to get a Mac so I could be like you and stand in my basement and do live looping for a half hour with one shot that doesn't move or doesn't zoom in, or I mean, and like he like straight faced me when he said that to me. And this is the same thing with people watching JHS with his tube amp thinking, oh man, JHS, he fucking really knows what he's doing with his tube amp. I don't have one of those. He's reached the pinnacle. And then they find out he's playing through a Kemper and everybody's going, because there's a reaction all of a sudden. They're having a reaction because of this thing I'm talking about, where people think that a tube amp is better than a Kemper. Which a Kemper, there was a guy, I forget this guy's name, Toan Chimp or something. I watched some of his videos today. He made some really good points. Some of those I repeated in this video. That guy, he had went to Josh's place when Josh got his Kemper because Josh didn't know how to use it. And he hooked him up and went through his amp collection and Kemperified all of Josh's amps. So this guy has a copy of all Josh's amps, because JHS has this amp collection that's unbelievable. He's got all these amps you can't get, and now that they've been Kemperized. So like, and by Kemperized, what I mean is you plug the amp into this thing and then you have it in this box digitally, and you can trade that on the internet. It's a small file. So like, how you would think that a single amp could be better than a device that captures the spirit of the amp, puts it in there, and then you could I mean, how you could think. And this whole community of people are they're thinking that they somehow have been done a disservice. And again, this is one of the things that JHS does. Why I said he's a schemer. And, you don't have to take my word for it. You can formulate your own opinions on the JHS show. And if you love it and everything, I didn't mean to piss you off or offend you or talk about your hero. And I do want to say I recognize his contributions to the pedal community. But I will never stray from my awareness of the fact that he owns a boutique pedal company. That's who he is. First and foremost, he's trying to sell you pedals. So let's just understand, be aware of reality, which I guess as musicians, especially guitar players, and when we go online, that's difficult for us to do for some reason. You need to get a Mac, dude. Anyway, you guys, thanks for joining me on this one. I think more importantly than tube versus analog is just that you're working, that you're productive, that you're happy with what you do. And for me, that means taking massive breaks. I always have health stuff that comes up. My hand's numb, so I haven't been playing because my hand has been numb. And also if I hit it real hard, like if I'm doing a real lot of music, then I need a break for a while. And I come back and I'm fresh. So for me, it's feast or famine. And it's that's where I'm at now. Is I'm in between. I'm going to be doing some other things for a while, and then I'll be back to doing music. It's like the weather's getting nicer, and I'm like, I guess this year we're going to be doing our instrumental set, which we were practicing that every day, and then we stopped. We played it for my mother-in-law. We went over there and set up in her living room and played this set. And the reason we did that was because this music is all old music. It's all from like 1948 to 1954. 4 of the songs out of this 10 sets. It's 10 songs. So yeah, she loved it. She really enjoyed it. And then I'm interested in sharing that with you guys. So we're going to be playing that at remotes this year live. But in the meantime, I went back and tried to play those songs. I forgot. I can't play a single one of them. Cannot play a single one of them. So we'll have to have like a 2 weeks of playing every night, every other night. We start out, we'll play the set list twice in a row, that type of thing. And my wife will complain about it. My wife really, she likes to come home after a hard day at work and sit on social media. She likes to just go on Facebook and look at her laptop, and I don't blame her. But after a few hours of doing that, I'm ready to play some guitar. So I got that to look forward to. And ultimately, as we move forward into the future, and these more and more of these tools become available, it's awesome. You just have to understand when is the right time to upgrade. And me, I'm going to be waiting for a while. I bought some Nuix stuff. I bought a MG300. And then right away they came out with the MG30, which was like a lot better and about the same price, maybe $100 more. So it is what it is, and ultimately the day will come where I get something that's the equivalent to a Helix or a Kemper. But until then, hey, you know what? What I have, the MG300, is good enough. It really is, and it sounds phenomenal. So I'm super happy about that. I'm super happy for financially, and then the fact that I live in an apartment is kind of what dictated the path that I took for my gear, meaning I didn't buy a bunch of overpriced tube amps and think that was the only way to go. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy. I have so many options of what I can play through here. And I like that. I like that. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, you know? It doesn't. It's the music that matters. And having this stuff and having these options helps to keep me motivated and keeps me fresh. So that's a big part of it for me. And we're all different. We all have our own path. We all have our own gear preferences. It's just important to realize that and to not think that everyone should be playing through what I play through, or look at the next guy and say, man, that guy's playing through that, and judge him on it. Because you should only judge people through the quality of their art. Do you like it? Does it click with you? Fine. If you don't, oh well. There's no reason to personally attack the guy. Just like if the guy's playing through a solid state, a PV amp that you don't like. The guy went out and bought a PV Decade because of, what's his name? Josh Homme's ruse. I see people doing demo videos. They're like, this is the secret Queens of the Stone Age sound. Like, get out of here, man. Get the F out of here. You couldn't be wrong there. Look into Fran Lab. If you don't know about that, Fran Lab. You can learn about that from her. All right, you guys, take care of yourself. Stay cool or warm. Hug your pets. Don't watch the JHS show. And you don't have to watch me either. Peace.